What's words of wisdoms have always stuck with you? Don't set yourself on fire to keep others warm. My so and I are people pleasers. We hate saying no. Or sounding rude. But we can't drop everything to be at the aid of everyone else. Our friend just broke up with his girlfriend. He wants us to come over on Thursday for his pity party. Thursday is also the 1-year anniversary of losing my dad. I was planning on staying home and getting plastered. He's still insisting we come over despite knowing that. So he wants me to console him while I'm inconsolable. I can't set myself on fire this time. 1. Does it need to be said? 2. Does it need to be said by me? 3. Does it need to be said by me right now? Is it true? Is it kind? Is it necessary? You should generally aim for at least 2 out of 3. Never forget what you are. For surely the world will not. Make it your strength. Then it can never be your weakness. Honor yourself in it. And it will never be used to hurt you. Double quote. Tyrion Lannister. This single line helped me a lot with my anxiety and self-confidence. Tact, a keen discernment of what to do or say in dealing with others without giving offense. Knowing when to keep your goddamn mouth shut is a seriously undervalued skill. Brutally honest and telling it like it is are just euphemisms for being a tactless asshole. Double quote. I can't remember who said it, but people who are brutally honest generally enjoy the brutality more than the honesty. Springs to mind. Edit. Thank you to whoever gave me gold. I've never had gold before. What a nice gesture. Everybody gets a natural 20 sometime. Relic of tabletop dice games. Life is largely a roll of the dice for every situation. If things are easy street, don't take it for granted. You have some low rolls coming. If stuff seems to suck, remember that the game will continue. Like it or not. And that everyone, sooner or later, throws a natural 20. You'll too. Keep throwing. I disagree. I had one die that never fucking rolled a 20. It kept rolling 7s and below. Occasionally it would be nice to me and give me a 14 or something. Eventually I had to take it into the driveway with dad's hammer. Line up my other d20s. And show them what happens when you fucking let my cleric die. Double quote. My dad had a few good ones. Don't ever stick your dick in crazy. Really wish I had heeded this advice. Sorry dad. Don't ever threaten to leave. Unless you already have your bags packed. Teeth advice for jobs. Or relationships. You can lead a horse to water. But you can't make him drink. But you can hold that motherfucker's head underwater until he either drinks or drowns. Yay. That's my dad. He wasn't very couth. But he had his good points. Been gone 23 years now. Shit. 23 years today. Just saw the date. Miss you dad. Maybe not the traditional kind of answer you're looking for. But my grandfather is a retired Air Force vet. He's in his 80s. And he's also one of my best friends. He has a habit of rambling on endlessly. But one thing he said has always stuck with me. And I don't think he intended it to. He was talking about terrorists and the war in the Middle East. And how, being a veteran and having been to war, seeing all those people die even though they're our enemy really made his heart hurt. Then, he said, look at the people over there. The way they live. Imagine a poor man who lives there. He lives in total poverty. He's got no shoes or nice clothes. He's rarely had a good meal in his whole life. One day, a man in a limousine pulls up and makes him an offer. The poor man sees his nice suit, his nice car, how well off he is. The rich man hands him a gun and tells him, go kill Americans. And you can have what I have. Look at me. I live in a mansion. That is a terrorist. Double quote. Don't know why it stuck with me. It's not even all that accurate. More of a generalization. But for whatever reason, I think about that a lot. It was poignant. So remember always that you are so expendable. That's sauce, not pessimism. It's sauce how to get ahead. People tend to get complacent when they do well and think that the world owes them something. Fight like you also got nothing to lose and you'll win a lot more. My personal motto of sorts and always worked for me. The only time you look in your neighbor's bowl is to make sure that they have enough. You don't look in your neighbor's bowl to see if you have as much as them. Louis C.K. said that in an episode of Louis and it immediately imprinted into my brain. I try to live by it. I have a horrible, overwhelming need for fairness and things to be fair. Recipe for misery there. I have to keep reminding myself of this and don't compare yourself to others. Compare yourself to where you used to be. So if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment. Marcus Aurelius. So do not fear death. I had been dead for billions and billions of years before I was born. And had not suffered the slightest inconvenience from it. Mark Twain. So if you have a problem that can be fixed, there is no use in worrying. If you have a problem that cannot be fixed, there is no use in worrying. So Buddhist proverb. The world is a comedy to those that think, a tragedy to those that feel. Sir Horace Walpole. So I suffer more from imagination than from reality. Seneca. It's so silly to try to escape other people's faults. They are inescapable. Just try to escape your own. Marcus Aurelius. You are who you hang out with. Double quote. Basically, be careful who you become friends with. Just because someone is nice to you and wants to be your friend, doesn't always mean they are worthy of friendship. There is such a thing as people that are a bad influence. Particularly if you are a very trusting and optimistic person. This is even more important. I have one friend in particular that has royally fucked up her life because she started hanging out with sketchy people and eventually developed their bad habits. My speech coach in high school was a real Gordon Ramsay style hardass. I never knew what would set him off. But after chewing my ass particularly hard one week during an atrocious practice, he said, "I'm not hard on you because I hate you. I'm hard on you because I know your potential. If I thought you couldn't do any better, I'd tell you to go home." Double quote. Our team won state several years in a row along with occasional national championships due to his uncompromising style. My torts professor in law school was one of the last truly Socratic method practitioner in the school. But it wasn't malicious. And he wasn't mean about it. He made the same point though. It was, "I'm hard on you BC, you can take it. Don't be worried about being wrong. Be worried if I stop correcting you. That means I've decided you can't handle the complexity of the course." Worrying is a lot like a rocking chair. It gives you something to do, but doesn't get you anywhere. Edit. Obviously. Many thanks for the kind gift, strangers. If you are one to feel self-conscious or have mild social anxiety, it can be helpful to remember that no one is really paying as much attention to you as you think. "I wish it need not have happened in my time," said Frodo. "So do I," said Gandalf. "And so do all who live to see such times. But that is not for them to decide. All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given us." Deserves death? I dare say he does. Many that live deserve death. And some that die deserve life. Can you give it to them? Then do not be too eager to deal out death in judgment. For even the very wise cannot see all ends. Double quote. Gandalf 1. Death penalty 0. Passed on from my mother. From her shrink. My mother was having trouble finishing her dissertation for her PhD. So much so that went to see a psychotherapist. After working in therapy for a while, and resolving many other issues in her life, she found she still wasn't making progress on her diss and asked her therapist about it. He just said, "You don't need me for that. I don't have a diploma in my desk. You finish your dissertation the same way we all did. You put glue on your ass. You sit in front of your typewriter, this was in the 80s. And you just write it." Double quote. She did. Most of getting things done is not about having ideal conditions. Inspiration. or even motivation, so stop waiting for all that. Just put glue on your ass and do it. The difference between expectations and reality is disappointment, and sometime annoyance, anger. And X200B. So when you are feeling disappointed, take a step back and ask the following questions. Were my expectations too high? Am I the problem? Which is typical the root cause? Were the situations not what I expect? Was my original view assumptions wrong? Did the other party try? Did the other party even know the expectations? Did the other party have the same standards? Could I have done something so the other party could have met the expectation? Aka communicate. And X200B. Don't be an idiot. Double quote. Change my life. Every time I'm about to do something, I think, would an idiot do that? And if they would, I do not do that thing. My father's lesson to me about personal finance when I was in my early teens. If your outgo is more than your income, then your upkeep will be your downfall. My therapist regarding my confusion about my ex's behavior. Stop trying to make sense of something that will never make sense. From a guy in a class that never said a word. When asked why he never talked. I find that I learn very little when I'm the one talking. Edit to add regarding the third item. Holy crap, I can't believe the amount of feedback. And it's all been really interesting to read. The man that said this is retired and in his 70s, maybe 80s by now. This was several years ago. He is open and personable in one-on-one conversations and in small group conversations and always provides good input. Which was why so many others found it odd that he didn't speak much. This comment was made during a large group study class at church. His point was simply that when he recognizes an opportunity to learn, he listens intently. I have held on to that phrase because I tend to talk when I should listen. And I need to remember that balance is important. Just because we don't have anything important to talk about doesn't mean the time we spend together isn't meaningful. Double quote. I found this out when I came home from college to hang out with my brother. We wanted to make up for lost time and spend every minute together. But we ran out of things to talk about pretty quickly. It turns out, walking down the street and catching Pokemon is just as fulfilling as having a deep conversation. All that matters was that we were spending time with one another. So once worked with a guy for 3 years and never learned his name. Best friend I ever had. We still never talk sometimes. Ron Swanson. If you're going to eat shit, don't nibble it. As an introvert, I sometimes agree to do things with friends but then dread actually doing it when the event comes up. This saying helps me realize once I commit to something I should embrace the experience 100% without thinking of backing out. Because of this thought process, I have had some great experiences I would have otherwise bailed on. Fierce sauce, a variation of that saying from Zig Ziglar that I love. So if you are going to have to swallow a frog, you don't want to have to look at it for too long because it ain't getting any prettier. Say grass is greener where you take care of it. The grass isn't greener on the other side. It's green where you water it. Is a form of this that has always stuck with me. Mine was, especially in regards to social media, the grass is greener because it was fertilized with bullshit. Little late, but I was having a tough day at work and went to a gas station to pick up a couple energy drinks. The gas station attendant strikes up conversation and I mention that the day just wasn't going my way. She then said something so simple, but it was exactly what I needed to hear. The day always ends. Graveyards are filled with indispensable people. Double quote. A colleague was telling us how valuable he was to the company, and how when he quit, it would be impossible to replace him. After he left, my friend and I chatted about how cocky our colleague sounded. Yeah, he may do a lot of valuable things, and it may be hard to replace him, but cute, be who you are and say what you feel. Because those who mind don't matter and those who matter don't mind. Dr. Swiss. No matter how good person you are evil in someone's story. These quotes really opened my eyes because it's true. Even if you try to be the best you can be in life, there will people who don't like you for whatever reason. Not everyone will like you, and I've learned that that's okay. You can't please everyone. It's okay for you not to be okay. I've always been the type of person to put on the brave face and keep going at 100 miles per hour no matter what I'm going through in my own life. I was once going through a particularly hard time. And I was very depressed. But I was still trying to be the same person I've always been. So my friends couldn't really tell that I needed support. I went to a gathering with a bunch of people. And one of my more distant friends sat down with me and told me it's okay for you to not be okay. It seems like such an obvious thing. But I really didn't think it was okay. I still struggle with the concept. And I still have to remind myself of it from time to time. But it has stuck with me. I've always been a lurker, but I had to make an account for this. They say that you have to write one true sentence, and my sentence is this. What's the reason to wake up in the morning? There's people you haven't met yet. There's music you haven't heard of yet. There's memories left to be created and emotions yet to be felt. Double quote. This quote literally saved my life when I was suicidal. I hope this helps people too. Never stop learning. The moment you decide you aren't going to be expanding your base of knowledge, that base will start to shrink as you forget specifics. Continue learning about anything you can. Anything that interests you. It will lead you towards what you want to do in this world. People invest in those that invest in themselves. Don't waste time being mad at the world because your life partner isn't magically falling into your lap. You have to make the effort to be the type of person someone would want to be with. Same applies for getting the job you want. All of this takes effort, and that's a good thing. Never have a 0 day. From a fellow Redditor's comment. Meaning never have a day where you do absolutely nothing. If you're a writer, writing one sentence is better than nothing. If you want to get fit, running 500 meters is better than not getting out of bed. It has helped me a lot with motivation issues, and I find myself getting much more done. A previous boss told me to always take care of myself and my family first. That a company will always find more people to replace me with if I had to leave, but I couldn't replace my family with new people. He wasn't saying I was going to be fired. He was saying if worst case scenario happened and I had to leave. He also said that my health and my personal wellness was more important than any company. Because they weren't living my life for me. He was a grade A guy. And though I changed jobs and have a pretty good boss now, I wish he was still my boss. Pick your battles. This applies both to the random people you meet but also with yourself. Most things that people end up fighting about are so minor that if you really dig down to it, there is not any real lasting repercussions if you just let it go. However, there are times when it is absolutely worthwhile to fight, and if it is very out of the ordinary for you, people will notice and be more likely to pay attention. I've got an endless list, but I'll give some of my favorites. Don't waste your time searching for the beginning. All you'll find there is the end. Basically just saying start now or you won't start at all. Double quote. It's better to die on your feet than live on your knees. Double quote. If they left someone for you, they'll leave you as soon as someone better comes along. Double quote. The 5-year rule. It was originally given to me by an extremely drunk lady on the night I met her, who ended up becoming a very good friend of the family. And when she originally gave it to me, it was a way for her to teach me to not date losers. Think 5 years into the future, and what kind of guy do you see him being? Is he there for you? Is he striving to help you? Is he working and trying to better himself? Are you still with him? If so, are you happy that in 5 years you're with him? I dodged some major bullets using this line of thinking when I was younger. But now I apply it to other things like my job. I don't want to be here in 5 years, and I am working to find somewhere I do want to be in 5 years. What other people think about you is none of your business, Sister Catherine. A really kind nun who taught me about self-love and acceptance while I was in psych ward as a 14-year-old. This lady also bought me a bubble wand because I used to bite down on my lips and had a constantly worried expression, so she wanted me to have to move my face muscles to blow the bubbles. And she also gifted me a stuffed dog with the kind of beanie texture in his paws because, having autism, I like sensory things and I'm always fidgeting with something, usually pinching my hands. Instead I would play with the dog, who I named Sammy after the Bible story of the Good Samaritan. I'm not personally religious and she knew this, which is why I named him so. Because even though we had different beliefs and by her religion's standards I was a hellbound sinner, she still helped me so much and never enforced her religion onto me. I still sleep tucked up with Sammy every night. This is very simple and cliche, but this too shall pass has really gotten me through tough times. Whenever something undesirable comes up or happens, I remember the other bad situations in my life that don't mean anything anymore. And it really helps put things into perspective. Something I think is so important to remember in life is that nothing is permanent. Halo effect. Focus on your looks, and everything else falls into place. You will be perceived as more confident, competent, funny, etc. just cause you look good. E.g. if a hot person flirts, it's flirting, while ugly equals harassment. But it actually affects all other aspects of life, not just dating. Edit. Ever notice how for every criminal case, people always insult the criminal about their looks? And if the criminal is attractive they start talking about broken families, systems, etc. Yeah. Halo effect.